Hey, Nick Smith, are we kicking off? Are we kicking off? Nick Day, remember what we're doing on the kickoff, right? One, two, three, Woodlands! We'll do our best. Still ready. Coach, I got the T again. I got the T again. Okay. Come back. I'd like Tom. Let's go, Woodlands!
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Kevin McKitterick at the Texas High School Rugby Championships here. We are joining the start of the game. It is the Dallas Harlequins against the Woodlands here. Harlequins wearing their white with colored sleeves and Woodlands in all green. Now, for what we saw yesterday, we should expect a very physical game coming through, especially from this Quins side, who likes getting in and likes big hits at pace. This Woodlands team, of course, reaching victory over Cy-Fair yesterday in a really hard-fought battle. Cy-Fair kept incredibly physical. Oh. That was 10 back. Player did not retreat all the way 10 before trying to make the tackle. Whistle is going to be blown again. All right, and the clock is going to be a little bit behind here. Sorry about that, folks. All right, a lot of really loose action on the field so far. Expect that to calm down a bit, especially from this Woodland side, who likes to play a little more composed ball. Doing very well once they calmed down yesterday and started shipping it out to their backs. Woodlands wanted to get points on the board early, going for this kick that would put them 3 ahead. Kick is up, and kick was no good. Quins touching it down in their own try zone here, so it's going to bring them out to a 22, and I am rejoined by Griffin here. Griffin, you want to introduce yourself to anybody that didn't catch on the first time?
Yeah, I'm Griffin Mott. I'm a senior at St. Thomas High School. I'm going to continue playing my rugby career at Baylor University next year. I've been playing for about 4 years now. I've been able to play with the Texas All-State team and the All-American team. It's been a really great time, and I'm glad to come out and watch some really great rugby today.
Yeah, we're glad to have you out here. Now, Griffin has a lot of insight to the players on the field, having come up through the high school system. He knows how this works. Now, Griffin, we've seen a lot of surprises through this tournament that I think a lot of people weren't expecting coming through. How are you feeling about this game? What do you expect to see from both teams here?
I think absolutely anything can happen. I think both teams are very strong within the forwards. I think that's where the game's going to be won today. Both teams have a very great 8-man, with the Quins having Jordan Wander and the Woodlands having number 8, Stein Alpers. Both of them are just absolute dominant forces on this pitch. So I think anything can happen today in this game. Both have great backlines. They can do a lot of exciting things. There's going to be a lot of cool breaks. It's just going to come down to who wants it more.
Yeah, and Jordan Wander, of course, a name we heard a ton yesterday. He's about, what did we say, 6'3", 230 pounds of unreasonably fast human being.
Yeah, I had the misfortune of seeing him deadlift 500 pounds a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that's just a genetic experiment gone horribly wrong, and they put him out on a rugby pitch, and he's been doing great ever since.
And they gave him 2 legs that actually worked pretty well in his favor.
Can only say the word potato, though, poor fella.
Yep. A nice kick from Nick Smith going right about to midfield, and will be knocked on by Evan Conlon. Very unlucky.
Again, cardinal sin of catching a ball. If you want to make that catch, you've got to turn your body sideways just in case of that situation. The ball coming forward will give you a knock on it. Will give the team possession in a scrum down, which is not what you want, especially against what we saw out of this Quins scrumming side here.
How were your hands when you played rugby?
Great. Always wrapped up on the water bottles, never dropped them on the way out to the field.
That's what I like to hear. Great team effort.
Hydration is key to victory. Let there
Everybody
be no
has a role.
questions.
Some, maybe not some important.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Don't appreciate the implication there, Griffin.
Hydration is key. I already said that. You can't assume on here.
Talking a big game to an old man here. Make you feel good? Make you feel good to pick on me like that?
Yeah. It's not too bad. I can't complain.
And a quick reminder for anybody who missed the stream yesterday, Griffin did tell us he wanted to get a mullet to fit in a little more, so, you know, temper any opinions with that going forward.
If that's your best point of attack, you're already losing this battle.
Things I've come to terms with.
Glad to hear that.
So again, we're seeing a lot of play off the aids. Quins getting a little loose with the ball going into contact, not doing a great job of securing it into rucks. While conversely, on this Woodlands side, we're not seeing a lot of great movement through the hands, but their rucking has been on point.
Yeah, we're just seeing a lot of mistakes coming on from both teams. Everyone's acting very frantic just to get the ball, and everyone's trying to score first to get this early momentum, but if they cannot just slow down the ball and get it moving to their advantage, then they won't be able to do anything.
Yeah, and it should be noted again, this is the championship game, so a
All
lot
is
on the line for both teams here. This is the accumulation of the entire season, and as we spoke before, this is traditionally Westlake's game. Westlake is not even on the field right now, which is a huge change of pace over the past 4 years that they've been up in this championship game and winning it every time. So this is to see who takes the throne from the reigning champions. This is going to set the pace for next year. It is a huge game for both teams. It's a huge game for Texas high school rugby in general.
So coming into today, who do you believe has the advantage on the pitch?
You know, it's really hard to say. Personally, I like this Quins play style. It's very reliant on individual performances, but they are hitting hard. They get a lot of steam behind them and make these big hits that are going to be really hard for this Woodlands defense to keep up with. But the Woodlands have done such a good job of maintaining composure. They just need to get their hands a little bit in check, and then the Quins are going to have to organize very well to handle them. As we see right now, looking out on the field, the Quins have a very disjointed defensive line. Forward's not making it all the way back to really form a proper stop, so you're pairing up a lot of guys that are trying to get back, some aren't, leaving a lot of gaps, and this Woodlands team is going to capitalize on it. So it's hard for me to say who walks away with victory.
Yeah, coming from a biased Houston lifestyle, since I've had to play against the Woodlands for the past 4 years, every single time I've played them, it's just been a nightmare. They could do so much on the ball and off the ball. All their skills are just really, really toned well. They have great skills with every single part of that, with every single aspect of this game, and they can do pretty much anything they want if they play their game and they play at their pace. They have so many great players like Alex Rayton, who just took the ball in for the nice crash. They have Eugene Bitzer, as well as Kieran Farmer, who's going to be playing in New Zealand next year. He's just an absolute force and reckoning on this field. And as I just said that, a nice run by number 9, Ian Martinez, who's just been a force coming back from an ACL injury last year.
Yeah, and the 13-14 hookup here is really great on the outside. What we're seeing from the Woodlands here is a lot of quick ball back into the hands of the backs, but they're doing a great job of organizing. They're not getting panic passes out there. They're making good, clean passes, running into good, clean support lines, and that is just gaining them tons of real estate out on this field.
For a second there, I thought they were putting Cipriano Savi in the back line. I would have loved to see that matchup.
Man, that is something you never want to see as a fly half. You get about 300 pounds of Islander lining up against you.
Yeah, he's one of the kind of players that gets a brand new box of cleats and throws the cleats away and plays in the box shoes.
I think we're going to see Sippy make the run here. Once we're live here, Sippy's looking to just hammer his way into the try zone here.
Yeah, he has been playing since he was 7, so he does have really great ball skills, which makes him such a threat on offense.
And we've seen that a few times throughout this tournament. Big men with ball skills. Oh, and they faked it out, electing instead to send it to the flanker to try to run a quick line in. It is stopped, but this Woodlands offense is performing admirably. They're finding interesting routes. They're keeping Quins on their toes. Quins struggling to organize. There is a big gap in the Quins defense far left here. numbers heavily in the Woodlands' favor. Doesn't even matter. Woodlands are just going to choke it right down the middle.
Getting the early advantage, 5-0. Woodlands up early in this game over the Quins.
And I think part of the key to victory here is going to be whoever struck first. So the Woodlands are there. Now the Quins are going to be sweating a little more. We already saw a lot of emotion rising when the score was 0-0. It's only going to go further from here once there is some blood drawn. This number 15 looks like Evan Conlon. Going to be looking for the conversion here. And the conversion is good. Well done
nice
by
kick
Woodlands.
by Evan Conlon.
Yeah, getting out some early 7-0 lead. Like we said, it's going to stress out these Quins a bit. Now, these Quins like these big hits. You look across this team, and you can tell they're a team that wants to thump them. There is a lot of athleticism and a lot of size through this entire team.
It's just absolute brute force out there whenever they're playing. Whether it's on offense or defense, whenever they come up against the opponent, it is going to hurt them regardless.
Yeah, and I think the big difference, because we saw that a lot with Cy-Fair, and granted, they mixed up their style today, but I think these Quins players really like running just straight lines into contact. They like the big runs. Cy-Fair was keeping a gritty game in tight. Quins like to loosen up the ball a little bit, get some steam behind them, and just try to hammer through that defensive line.
Now, I can't really say if this is a coincidence or not, but arguably one of the hardest runners on this field is Jordan Wander, number 8. But he also does have the nicest mullet out there.
First of all, shame on you. Second of all,
can you argue it?
Coincidence? It's
Coincidence?
a coincidence?
A coincidence?
I'm really sorry.
I think not. It's the mullet. Eugene Bitzer with a nice run. He also has a nice mullet.
That's clearly what's powering the entire side. If you hadn't picked up on that at home, he broke about 4 tackles going through there. Mullet just tossing through the wind here. Oh, little mishandling.
Once again, I said there are factors that you can't control in this game. Having a mullet is one of them.
I think that's the only one that really matters at this point. And again, we talked a little bit about Kieran Farmer yesterday. He was crucial throughout the game. Did get a yellow card, which took him out for a bit. So he has to be careful to keep that temper down, not make any mistakes and get pulled out again. But he will be touring over to New Zealand over the summer, correct? To play a little bit of ball over there with the Kiwis.
Absolutely. It's going to be very exciting for him, especially when he comes back. He's going to come back a completely changed player with the ability and having the experience of playing with some of the greatest players and the greatest rugby country so far in the nation.
The greatest country in the nation, huh?
Oh, yeah. Early morning.
Man, this Woodlands offense is just doing such a great job of picking apart the Quins defense, and we talked about this right off the bat, is the Quins are all at a different pace here. Some are sprinting back to get on that defensive line, some are just jogging back, some are outright walking. And Woodlands are doing very well to take advantage of that. And that quick ball through hands out to the corner, dangerous for the Quins. They have got to get on the same page if they want to make a game out of this.
Nice job getting the ball out wide for the Woodlands team. It looks like the ball is going to be coming back to the Woodlands.
Yeah, what's great, and something that we haven't seen a whole lot of the Woodlands doing very well, is they're keeping their passes low and quick. There's not a lot of big looping passes like we saw with Cy-Fair that were getting picked off, and same with Westlake. They had a few passes that were taken advantage of because they're throwing really high lofting passes in the back line, shooting up and grabbing them. Woodlands are just firing through the hands here, not giving anybody any time to intercept.
Ooh, unlucky knock on by Stein Alpers.
Yeah, they went for a little trickery there, and it looks like the play got ahead of the players.
Ball recovered by Evan Conlon right about midfield, and his chip gets blocked, recovered by the Quins.
Well done. That was a prop that got hands up. You got to start asking yourself about some life choices when a prop is the first person to get to the breakdown there.
Quick tap taken by Ian Martinez and a nice chip from Kieran Farmer. Will he be able to recover?
Oh, that is
Ball
absolutely
running on
the bounce
the floor,
he wants to
and
see.
he does recover
Recovers,
and
going
scores
down.
for the try.
Kieran Farmer, what an absolute monster out there. Man, we heard his name a ton yesterday. We've talked about him a bit already, and he showed exactly why he's going to be the person representing his team over in New Zealand. Gathered some skills. With a look like that, he might be one to teach the Kiwis a thing or two.
Yeah, just a great player. Also coming off an ACL injury from last year, and he's able to completely reform the game for his team. It's just a really great thing to see. But it looks like it's not going to be a try.
No, it was an unlucky knock-on towards the end, but that kind of ball movement, even if it was the knock-on that ended, the Quins can't feel good about one individual player being able to punch through their entire defensive line. The only thing stopping him was his own hands.
Yeah, that's something Kieran Farmer has always been able to do. He's just an absolute force on offense.
And Quins, again, electing to kick. Colin back there recovering, finding support with Swinger. And that was one man,
nice
2 tackles. Oh, crushing tackle by the Quins here. And this is the kind of rugby that I expected from the Quins after seeing them play yesterday, is coming in with these big hits and punishing the Woodlands over the long game. Now, the Woodlands smart ship the ball out. This hyper-aggressive Quins defense is
The ball
leaving
looks
a lot
like
of
it went
gaps.
back to the Quins. It must have been a knock-on or a forward pass.
Yeah, and that can be a result of those low, quick passes that I was talking about. Sometimes ball just hits way too hard, bounces off the hands. No one ever feels good about it, but we've all been there.
No, I think it's just you. I'm pretty sure you know a thing about knock-ons or two.
You wouldn't believe.
You're a wing.
And not what I would have expected. A penalty going to the Quins here.
Nice kick
What
by
a
Nick
kick.
Smith.
Went out a little earlier than he wanted to, though.
Another player we have seen from the Quins, just been able to absolutely do pretty much whatever he has wanted on this field, especially from yesterday with the quick win over Westlake. His great potential for a junior, and it's going to be exciting to see what he can do next year in his final year alongside Jordan Wander.
Yeah, those two together have proven just crushing to any of the defenses here and the offenses. They're just big, they're fast, they're hyper athletic.
Just absolutely inseparable friends, which is such a great thing to see with chemistry.
Quins taking advantage of the knock. Ball should come back to the first knock here. Imagine that will be a scrum down to the Quins.
Ball was juggling a bit in and out of hands. Ball is going to be going to the Woodlands.
No, that should be coming back to the Quins. It's coming back to the first knock.
Oh, okay.
Woodlands bobbled it a bit.
And just seeing the size of the scrum from both teams is just absolutely terrifying to be able to see. I'm glad I got to spend my morning sitting in the shade with a nice Whataburger breakfast.
100%.
Nice take from Jordan Wander coming up. A nice tackle from Stein Alpers. That's what I'm saying. Battle of the eights today. It's going to be a great one to see, especially if they get to go head on head.
Yeah, and it's really good seeing those two clash. I mean, you generally, I'm sure Jordan's used to being able to walk all over who he wants to. Stein saying not today. Should make for an entertaining game, especially between the two of them. And we've talked a lot about individual play and sizes of these players here. One thing I'm seeing a lot is the Woodlands are working more as a cohesive unit where, again, the Quins are relying on individual performances busting through the line, one-man army coming through.
Yeah, unless they believe they're going to get lucky, they really got to slow down and start playing true rugby. They got to get the ball all the way out in the back line if they want to do something.
Yeah, and a lot of it's going to come down to their on-field leadership, really needing to just tighten the screws a little bit.
Nice hands and a nice run by Eugene Bitts, but just gets tripped up. Unlucky.
Yeah, but like we said, I mean, this great ball movement through the Woodlands.
They have great support whenever somebody's running. That's what makes them such a great team on offense.
Yep, and you're seeing it right here. I mean, this fullback Evan Conlon has been fighting on the corners constantly. He is taken out of bounds.
His back line is just a powerhouse for the Woodlands right now. They were pushed out of bounds by the Quins, so it's going to be a line-out throw-in for the Quins. Looks like there's a bit of confusion on the field.
Oh, players down on the opposite half for the Woodlands here.
That's never a good thing to see.
So let's talk about this Quins side a little bit. Now, they're big, they hit hard, they run fast. What are they going to have to do to beat this Woodlands offensive masterwork here? The Woodlands are very quick on the ball, and they're taking away the advantage that the Quins size gives them.
So a lot of the times you can see when the Quins are making great runs or doing it on a really nice crash ball, they just need to play to their advantages. That's what all good teams do. So the Quins know that their strengths are coming from the forwards. They know that they have big guys who can rough and tumble all the way down and get great yards on every single run. So I think the Quins need to bring it back into the forwards, let them run a few crash balls, and once they bring in the Woodlands defense, they can swing it out wide and score for a try.
I think you're absolutely right there, and I imagine we'll see this Quins defense tighten up a bit, try to knock down on those gaps they're leaving that Woodlands are just absolutely punishing every time they see.
Yeah, the Woodlands are not a team that you can just make mistakes on and recover, because they will seize the opportunity if you make a mistake.
Yeah, and it looks like it was Stein Albers that was on the ground over there. Woodlands happy to see him back up and moving.
And just as I was saying, a nice crash ball from the forwards for the Quins.
And again, that's a prop that we're seeing moving in there. You don't generally see that from the big boys.
Ooh, a 9 pass like that will get the 10 killed every time. Short arm penalty for the Quins. Let's see what they can do.
And we've seen a ton of penalties rolling out today, even more so than yesterday. And we'd commented on it being pretty penalty heavy yesterday, and the refs being on their whistle. Is this just a result of this being the championship game, fighting for that first and second place and that honor to dethrone Westlake?
I mean, that's absolutely all it is. Both teams fighting, they both have an even chance of winning today's game. Like we said, Austin Westlake has won the championship for the past 3 years, so this is anybody's championship. Anybody wants to take the new crown, because it is up for grabs and will be a new. There will be a new championship team named today. As I said, that nice kick from Nick Smith, but it will just barely. Ooh, bounces out of bounds. The ball will be going back to the Quins.
Man, that kid has a boot on him. He tried to send that one down to San Antonio.
Absolutely.
So knowing that our on-screen clock is a little bit behind here, we're still probably in the last somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes of this half. Woodland's still up 7 to Quins 0, but the Quins are sniffing at a try here.
Were you expecting this to be a low-scoring game, or did you think there was going to be a lot of tries going on today? Because both teams are really just holding their ground on defense. They do not want to give up a single point today.
You know, I've got to be honest, coming into this, I would have said both teams' advantage lies in their offense. Woodlands obviously choosing to work through the hands, utilize their backs a bunch, where the Quins have been just punching through with their big athletic forwards. And I expected the score to be a little higher at this point, but I am not disappointed in what I've seen. It's been a great, even game so far.
Absolutely. It's still anybody's game. It's still a one possession. I think it could lie in anybody's hands, and it will be decided in the last few minutes.
And anybody can tell you that's played a doubleheader like this, especially with 2 intense games back-to-back, day-to-day here, this is not an easy feat to pull off.
Absolutely.
All of these teams have been just working their tails off.
What are you seeing from the 9 on the Woodlands, Ian Martinez? He's just been able to do pretty much whatever he has wanted on offense today, and he is such a great defensive player. He's a great leader on the field and just a great person to have on your team.
Yeah, you know, I was about to point him out, actually. He's got such quick feet on him. He's got great field vision. He's doing very well to take advantage of every little gap in the defense, and I think he is a big reason why we're seeing this Woodlands team just march down the field. His quick ball distribution is giving them the chance to keep this Quins defense on their heels. Quins don't like it, and if they don't do anything to contain him, he's going to keep leading this team straight down.
And he's also coming off a major ACL injury as well. For him to be able to come back and do this, it is just great to see. And as I'm saying, that a nice break by the Woodlands 12, running it up all the way past midfield.
Griff, that 12 took the ball right back into traffic. He had open real estate on the outside. He decided to go back into traffic, broke through 5 Quins defenders, and was finally brought down.
And one of the Quins players is down. That is never good to see. That is Nick Smith that is down. That has to hurt the Quins defense. Hopefully he can shake it off because the Quins will need him in the next half.
And he is being tended to on the sideline here.
Steinhopper's coming out of the game. That's never good for the Woodlands. He is one of their best players.
No, both teams leaning very heavily on their star players, and it looks like they're taking a lot of damage as a result. And I think we're seeing it from both sides, so Jordan Albers and Stein there, is that when you have 2 unstoppable forces running into one another here, you know, something's got to give.
Yeah. One thing I'd like to touch on is I've been very impressed with the Woodlands back 3. Their umbrella is always very good at recovering any kind of kicks. They're great at staying in bounds, and they have great contained defense. They've stopped plenty of breaks. It's just very impressive to see what they can do, especially led by Evan Conlon and Stephen Butler on the wing. Just both, every single one of the players from the umbrella does play on the Texas high performance team. They're just they're a great trio to see anytime on the field.
Yeah, and you can absolutely see why they'd be on the high performance side. All of these guys, as soon as they get the ball, there's not a moment's hesitation. On offense, they're receiving kicks on defense and immediately hitting the ground running. They're not stopping and analyzing defense. They see it off the bat. They've got such great field vision. They're able to get down the field, distribute the ball where it needs to go, and get this Woodlands team right back where it wants to be back in attacking position. It's great rugby to see.
And the ball was turned over by the Woodlands, so they are taking it in hard. The number 12 running hard, and a great tackle. Not held, though, so he continues to run. Great support in the run coming from Jack Holdsworth and Eugene Bitzer. And the run goes to Cipriano Save, knocking over a few Quinn defenders.
Yeah, we haven't seen so much from Sippy this game, so we want to, but the Woodlands look like they take the corner, and they dot down the try. Great ball movement by the Woodlands. Will bring the score up to 12-0. This Quins defense is trying everything that they can, but this fast-paced Woodlands offense is just impossible to keep track of.
Absolutely. They can do pretty much anything, and if you give them one room of breathing room, they will take it and shove it down your throat.
Yeah, and I cannot believe the kind of hands that I'm seeing coming out of this Woodlands team. They are making passes and catches that you would expect players much more advanced than them to drop. This is great rugby by the Woodlands.
Yeah, absolutely great skilled team with a great coach, Phil Beck, leading them.
So given the performance so far, you've got to ask yourself what happened yesterday that made the Quins so strong, because they put on a pretty dominant performance against who we expect to win, being Westlake. They took a 27-17 victory against Westlake yesterday, and now they're really struggling with this Woodlands side.
Yeah, I think they're still believing that they are the underdogs in this game. They came in playing against the championship for 3 years, and they absolutely just beat them into oblivion. Coming out today, the Quins are still the underdogs against the Woodlands team, being number 1 ranked in Texas for the past pretty much the entire season. So I feel like the Quins still have control of this game if they choose to take it.
You know, a lot of times we talk about in these games that it's little mistakes that wind up adding up over the game and deciding the winner. This is one of the few exceptions where I feel like it's a bunch of great performances by the Woodlands. Finding space, Kieran busting through the defensive line with a little dummy. Again, back to his inside center. These guys just cannot be stopped.
Absolutely great run by Kieran Farmer, setting up that nice run, getting in the opponent's territory. They're driving in within their own 22, and they look like they can do anything.
My
As
God.
I said, they just scored another try.
They dot down another, keeping these Quins teams on their heels, beating them when they're down. The Quins have got to take a breath. They've got to find a way to disable all of these weapons that the Woodlands have. And what do you do against a team that has about 17 different threats on a 15-man side?
There's not really saying what can you do. I mean, it's not what do they do. It's like what are they able to do against the Woodlands team? They're just absolutely dominating this game, getting up 2 early tries before this half. Score is sitting at 17-0 to the Woodlands. Wait on the converge from Evan Conlon, see if he can get this in.
And this is a rough kick. He feels good about it. I mean, it's 17-0. There's not a ton of pressure on this kick, but it's against the wind across the field.
It would be nice if he could get it in.
Of course, you always want to stretch out that lead by as much as you can. So going back to what can the Quins do? We've seen them. Oh, that is a heck of a kick. If the wind weren't there, that probably would have been slotted perfectly. We've seen the Quins' arsenal yesterday, and I'm sure they have more that we haven't seen yet. But Griffin, what do you think the Quins have to do to respond? They're 17 points down here. They're sneaking up on the end of the first half. They've got to pull something out of their quiver to respond to this.
They've got to set their tone on defense. They really need to come up and hit hard like they have been doing. Once they do that, get some pressure on the Woodlands like they have been able to do. They'll really start to get their game back. But until they do that, it will be Woodlands' game, and they can do pretty much whatever they want.
Good stop by the Quins 9 there, but he doesn't have a lot of support.
Not at all.
It's looking like the Quins are having a little trouble reforming their lines in support here. And a penalty against the Quins. Look at Conlon just taking the corner, drawing in the defender, offloading, getting back into support.
Ooh, sloppy ball.
Again, to borrow an expression from the Slippery Eel himself, this has been absolute champagne rugby from the Woodlands here.
So the ball is going to be going to the Woodlands in their scrum. Let's see what the Quins can do to dispute this.
Yeah, and I apologize. That was Tyler Watson that made the run just then.
Cipriano Sabe looks even scarier up close.
Yeah, I'm hoping he doesn't notice me and I catch his ire here.
I was wondering when I put his legs on that kid's back, but I realized that's his arms.
Woof. I'm just glad you got rid of the Whataburger. There's no way he wasn't going to come over here and take that
Absolutely.
by force. God, there goes that scrummy again, just pushing his way through.
Coming up hard, almost made the break, but just gets tripped up. Absolute great player.
Yeah, and he did very well to pop back up, realizing he wasn't wrapped up, so the tackle isn't officially made, so he can get back up and keep running, just couldn't find his balance. And here we go, back into this dangerous Woodlands backline.
Stephen Butler making a nice break. Getting into the Quins' own 22. Let's see if the Woodlands can put up another try.
Every time that kid gets his hands on the ball, he's gaining another 20, 30 meters.
It's going to be another short arm penalty to the Woodlands, taken by Kieran Farmer. Given off to Cipriano Save, rumbling and bumbling in.
Quins might have recovered this. Oh, no, looked like they stripped it for a second. Can Kieran find it on the outside?
Oh, unlucky pass to Stein Alpers, just hitting the ground so close to the try line.
And between Kieran and Stein, that's a dangerous combination. Quinn seeing that have to feel a little bit of panic going into the corner here.
Absolutely. I think if the Woodlands get another try, it can be this game for the Quins. And just as I say that, they got in one more coming from Stein Alpers.
And Griffin, even if Stein hadn't gotten it right there, look at the backline setup against the Quins defense. They had 5 men on the outside. If this forward smash hadn't panned out, they had all the time they needed to spin the ball out and dot this try down. The Quins, as we've said before, have to get their defense together if they want to stay in this game. They've got such strong individual performances, so we just need to see them link up as a team. Yeah,
the Quins just look exhausted right after that try. You could see about 8 or 9 of their players having their hands on their knees, just gasping for air. The Woodlands are exhausting this team, and if they don't pick it up, it's going to turn to a very ugly game.
And that's something that you'll see a lot with teams that have this size they've been leaning on for so much. When the size doesn't work, if another team like the Woodlands here has so many hot steppers on it, you've got a lot of big guys trying to keep up with a lot of little guys. It's going to come down to conditioning, and it kind of looks like the Woodlands are exposing the Quins for that right now.
Oh, and the kick is wide left by Evan Conley, keeping the score 22-0.
And that's the half. We've seen the Woodlands put on a complete workshop here, just dismantling the Quins defense. We're hoping for the second half the Quins get together, they get that flat defensive line, and they're able to respond. We'd love to see some of the big runs, the big hits coming out of them that we loved about them yesterday. So for the half, we'll take a little bit of time off and join you momentarily. we are back for the second half of this championship match between the Woodlands and the Dallas Quins. Nick is rejoining me for the second half here. Nick, what do you think of the game so far?
Well, so far, I think the Woodlands are doing an excellent job moving that ball between their forwards and their backs, and I think they're doing a good job putting the Dallas Quins under pressure, and Dallas Quins just don't have an answer for it right now. Let's see how the Dallas Quins work offensively here.
Yeah, and you probably couldn't hear it over the stream at the end, but even right before the second half, both teams are breaking out of their huddles. You hear the Woodlands chant, 3, 2, 1 Woodlands, and you could hear that about a mile away, where the Quins walking away from that huddle just looking disheartened. You can't walk into the half feeling defeated yet.
The Woodlands are playing exceptionally well from what we've seen before. It almost looks like an entirely new team out there. They're playing with just such teamwork, and they're playing as as brothers, not as 15 individuals, and that's really good.
Yeah, we spoke slightly off the air just then. This Woodlands team, compared to what we saw yesterday against Cy-Fair. Now, Cy-Fair was no slouch against the Woodlands. They played a very strong game. They forced the Woodlands to play their game, and the Woodlands struggled with that. Just eking out the victory right at the end here. What's changed from that? Because right now we are seeing a lot of high flying from the Woodlands. We're seeing great passing. We're seeing great movement all across the field. Do you think they've just sort of come together, gotten under this leadership under Kieran, and finding the gaps in the defense, just like we talked about?
Wow.
This Woodlands backline is unbelievable.
What a run.
Quinn's defense gives them an inch, and the Woodlands are taking a mile.
You know, to answer your question from before, what I really think it is I think the Woodlands they just want it more. I think they know this is the finals. They know they've had an undefeated season, and if they pull through with this victory, they will have a championship and 0 losses, which is impressive.
Yeah, 100% coming through here, and I think Kieran Farmer has really just sort of exerted his will on this field. We didn't hear a lot from him yesterday. We know he's had a great career, and he's going to have a great career ahead of him, but he was sort of silent yesterday. Today, he has shown up in force. He's done a great job leading this back line, linked often with Tyler Watson, as we saw there, to find little gaps. Kieran's drawing in the defense, dumping off Tyler's, running great support lines, and the conversion is good. And what can you do against that at the Quins? You have to have your head on an absolute swivel on defense to be able to close this down and lock it up. Score right now, Woodlands 29 to Quinn 0. This is not the game we expected to see out here today.
Man, Kieran, not a very big physical specimen, but man, does he work with what he has. The passing is unbelievable. The footwork is unbelievable. But best of all, I feel like he reads the defense very clearly.
Yeah, and that's something that you really can't teach. Having that good field vision is what makes a great fly half a great fly half. Knowing when to distribute the ball, where to distribute the ball, when to hold on to it and bust through the line. He is just showing everyone exactly what you want to see out of a fly half. I'm sure there are a ton of colleges that have their eyes on him right now, and this performance is really going to put some serious power behind his stock.
America will be losing a serious rugger here soon. He's going to come back a beast.
And that's a scary thought, right? You have a kid performing like this on the field. He's again, exerting his will where he wants, when he wants. And he's about to get shipped over to New Zealand to just blow his game wide open. I can only imagine the kind of performances he's going to be putting on once he gets back. And a rare miss by the Woodlands. Quinn's got to look to take advantage of this. Let's put some of their big, strong backliners through. Again, leaning on their 8 to 10 connection. Like we talked about, they're going for these individual performances. And that'll be a penalty, looks like, for hands in.
I've been seeing some excellent defense out of Jack Holsworth. He's an Australian playing flanker here. He's doing an excellent job.
There we go. Little action on the Quinn side. Oh. Looks like he was brought down by his head on that one.
Dallas Quins are given an advantage here. Have a free play and a whistle. Ball will be brought back, and a free kick to the Quins.
And there's the try. Good on the Quins for coming back. They haven't given up yet. There is still a lot of fight left in them. Leaning heavily on their 8-man, just like Griffin had talked about at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, you know, they run a pretty big pack here. I'd say Woodlands got them beat by a little bit, but I think the Quins, honestly, their pack hits very hard, and I think the Woodlands are feeling it on this last try.
Yeah, and there's a lot of athleticism coming through that pack, too, especially led by Jordan Wander, and he's linking up with the 10 Nick Smith very well. We've just got to see them pull more of the team into the plays here. Those two guys have been working all weekend, and they have to be exhausted right now.
We need to see the Dallas Quins that played against Westlake, the former state champs.
Yeah, that would make a big difference out here. Especially leaning on Wander, which, if you're familiar with the Eagles at all, is like a
What a
very
boot.
small.
Kick is no good, but
Oh,
wow,
that was
that
such
a towering
a great
kick.
kick, though. Wander, I was saying, if you're familiar with the Eagles and the professional Hun side here, Anku Hamashais has been the captain for the Hun side coming out, and he's an absolute monster. You see shades of him in Wander here. I'm sure Wander's going to have a heck of a career ahead of him as long as he sticks with rugby.
Wander could I could very much see him playing for a local men's team here someday, semi or professionally.
And that's the exciting thing to watch out for right now. A lot of these players that are having great individual performances will have a chance to shine on a national spotlight due to things like Major League Rugby coming up and a lot of the money and organization that's going into developing those leagues, and that should be a knock on the Woodlands here. Oh, looks like there was a penalty. Woodlands coming around the side. Again, Kieran Farmer probably gaining about 15 meters on that run completely unopposed until he's pulled out of bounds. You can't just let a guy run to the side like that. You have to cut that off. Call the jockey, bring in support.
Kieran Farmer has excellent confidence in his sixth jumper, Jack Holsworth, win this line out, maybe pull another try here. On the other hand, Dallas Quins need to boot that out.
The problem is, if the Quins put a boot to it, that puts it right back into this dangerous back three for the Woodlands, right? Like, you don't want it to wind up in their hands. They've done such a good job of distributing and getting up and down the field.
Wow, what unlucky play. Ball was chipped directly into the hands of a Woodlands player in the red zone.
And what do you even say to that? Again, Woodlands just putting on a masterclass of rugby performance right now. Setting up for the conversion right in front of the post here. Again, that was Tyler Watson that we've seen, the inside center. He's been a force hooking up with Kieran Farmer throughout the day. A lot of speed on that kid, a lot of good potential to change direction. Quins just looking like they don't have the answer for what Woodlands brought to the table today. And Evan Conlon puts it up, and the kick is good. Bringing the score to 36 Woodlands, Quins 5.
This game is slowly becoming out of reach of the Quins.
And some would say it's already there. There's a 31-point differential. It is not often that you even score 31 points in a game. This is a tall order for the Quins to come back from, and I think they're feeling it. You're seeing a lot of body language here, just sort of heads down, looking a little defeated. If they want to get back in this, which they have the capability, it's not going to be easy, but they've got to believe that they can be there. There we go. That's what we want to see out of the Quins. Again, these good individual drives. Looks like they're starting to come together on the offense a little more as a unit with some good rucking.
Quins are going to have to play some serious, flawless rugby if they want to close this deficit.
Yeah, and that was Stein trying to get the pick coming through, pulling a penalty on it. Nick Smith with a good run and offload onto their lock. And a whistle again. It'll be Quins' ball. They're going to look to hammer this one in. still leaning on their size just to try to get in. And the ball is turned over to the Woodlands here.
Good offload.
He's got no support there. Quins have to see that. Good hit coming through. Quins recover. This is where the Quins need to shine. They get this open field. Now they have to use this size. But you have to try to bring that ball back center to give yourself as many chances for points as you can. A great run, great run by the Quins winger there.
Quins did an excellent job taking advantage of that Woodlands mistake on the fumble there. That was a good hit. However, the placement on the corner was rather questionable. I feel like he had some time to go more towards the middle.
Yeah.
It only makes the kick harder.
And that was Zach Jackson getting through, and he's been a good player. He's got a lot of speed on him and a lot of size for a wing. I feel like he's been a little underutilized throughout. But like we just talked about, had he spun that around, it looked like he had the step to do it. Had he spun that around, he would have made this kick a whole lot easier and snuck the Quins just a bit closer to regaining this victory here. Again, this kick against the wind. We've seen this kick a few times today, and it's just not a great place to be with this high wind. Man, again, just a great kick that's just a little bit off. These kickers have been put through their paces throughout, and while we're not seeing it show on the board, I think a lot of credit should be given to the kind of performances these kicking crews have been putting through. Now hopefully you see a little fire under the Quinn side after that try. They've narrowed it down 26 points. That sounds a lot more manageable than 31.
I think the fitness levels between these two teams are starting to become noticeable. You can really start to see who's getting tired as we move on closer to full time.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that comes off of, again, this particular Quins play style where they like to get mean, they like to hit, but that is super taxing on the body, especially over the course of 2 games in 2 days.
8-man Stein is speaking to the ref.
Yeah, she's not reaching for a card yet, but you cannot lose Stein right now.
Most likely a warning.
Quins bench very unhappy, calling for a yellow. Quins showing some good movement through hands, some good support. This is what we've been hoping to see out of the game so far. They just got to keep this ball in bounds, try to swing it back, use their size out on the wings. Now, we talked about the back 3 for the Woodlands being very skilled on their offense. I think what the Quins need to do is put them to test on the defense. Use the size of their wingers, of their fullback, to really test this smaller Woodlands team. And the Woodlands recover the ball. Again, their scrummy is just all over the field. Followed quickly by Stein. Woodlands doing well to stop them, but it might not be enough. Ooh, whistle will bring it back right as Woodlands are finding space on the end here.
Dallas Quins called for collapsing a ruck.
Woodlands remembering they have all this speed on the side, but the Quins smart to poach a ball. It was a good interception going through. They've got to make sure they have the support to retain this.
They have numbers on that side.
Here we are. We're going to put the size to the test. Ooh, some loose ball handle. I guess letting them get that size up to speed. Again, looking like the scrum half is passing before he sees what he's looking at here, and it's resulting in some loose play, which is not what the Quins want to see right now. They're fighting so hard to get through here. We've talked about it throughout. There's some great individual work. They just have to take a breath and organize.
Dallas Quins have been very powerful in their scrums throughout this entire series. They're going to need to try and kick that to touch and then go for the line out.
Yeah, and as we talked about, they've been relying on their forwards a lot to do work. So with the scrumming on top of this, with the strong as it's been, these forwards have just been exerting themselves 100% throughout. They've got to be feeling the effects right now. Woodlands finding a lot of traffic as they try to get it in. A lot of credit to the Quins for being able to stop them. That was not an easy task. It's like a couple players breathing from their knees. It's not what you want to see. You really want your fitness to be able to shine through at these last quarter of the game. And there goes that Quins pack, really punishing the Woodlands here, but
In and out.
yep. You see, we talked about the power this Quins pack has. The Woodlands front row is absolutely folded over it. They're showing a dominant performance in the scrum. Just want to see them get it out there and use it. They're doing so much work in there. Those forwards have got to be feeling it. Let's see if they can do it again. The scrum is starting very high. Probably a result of the fatigue from all the play here. And expect a big hit from the Quins here. Good stop. Quins fighting hard with counter-rucking here. Can he be stopped?
Almost a walk-in try for number 12 on the Woodlands.
It is, and again, that's Tyler Watson. I believe that's a hat trick for him. He's had a brilliant game, too.
This game's official.
Man, him and Kieran are just a killer duo in the back line here.
Yeah, when they're linking up, it's hard to imagine how to stop him. Kieran's doing such a great job of sucking in the defense and then immediately distributing. He's not throwing the ball too early. He's not getting rid of it. If the defense is biting down too early, he's taking it himself. I think he is the driving force behind a lot of what we're seeing out of the Woodlands today. Not a bad conversion for Conlon here. Wind has died down. Ooh. Stayed inside the fence. That's bonus points.
He's had better kicking days.
He has, but he's been kicking with and against the wind this entire time. It just looks like he was overcompensating and keeping in the same patterns that he's had throughout, but the wind had died down just for his kick as we feel it push back up now.
Woodlands makes some sub in.
Yeah, it looks like
changes to the roster.
Tyler Watson came off the field, and what a tournament for him. He should be incredibly proud of himself, especially through this game. His performance has been absolutely outstanding. All right, Quins need a big hit here, and they have that in their arsenal.
Wow.
And a straight, dangerous run by Ian Martinez. His name has come up a bunch here. That 10, Nick Smith trying to stop him. Ian Martinez makes it all the way through for another try. Woodlands have been unrelenting in their offense here. Martinez, of course, we talked about a few times being a very quick stepper, very hard to catch. Incredibly strong for his size, breaking through tackles and just not stopping. This Woodland side has to be feeling like they are on cloud 9 right now in this championship match. And Conlon for another kick here. looking for redemption from the last one. And the conversion is good. That will bring the score to Woodlands 48 to the Quins 10, and it looks like it's just out of reach now. What you can hope for out of the Quins at this point, get some subs in, get some play time in, and just play a hard game with what you have left.
Yeah, for a lot of these guys, it's their senior year. This might be the last time they touch the field, assuming they don't move on. So, I mean, go out there and play your hardest at this point.
Yeah, and you know they've got to be feeling a lot of heartbreak because they've had a good season. They had such a great game yesterday. They've been fighting so hard today. Just haven't been able to handle this Woodlands offense. Again, the quick stepping, finding gaps in the defense.
You know, a lot of these guys are going to have a really exciting postseason, you know, doing high performance and, you know, other clubs.
Yeah, and 7's coming up too. I mean, this is not the end for any of them, though I'm sure after this game it's gonna feel pretty rough. They've got so many strong players on both sides. The Quins, again, good work on the outside. They've got so many big thumpers that are just looking to go into contact. And that was Zach Jackson again. We've said his name a couple times throughout the tournament here. He's a strong runner, big for a wing. Like seeing him play, he just keeps finding himself dancing on the sideline and getting taken out. And Quins recover off the line out. Let's see this run. Off the lock, good grab, good go. Again, Wander coming in, supporting his team. Wander's found himself at about half the breakouts.
Woodlands seemed to be getting tired as Scrummy made a pass between two people.
Yeah, might get a whistle for playing on the ground here. Looks like ref says play on. Got to be careful with those passes. Oh, good run. Looks like by number 5, that would be JP here. Found him, JP Pineda. A couple good runs back to back. Good, very, very good athleticism off of a lock, which would you like to see as a coach. And the flankers busting through. Will he dot it down? Quins are just sniffing at the try zone here. Fighting, fighting, fighting. And that's a try for the Quins. Great, great fight. Quins have absolutely disregarded the score at this point, and every player is making sure they're going to get theirs out of this. This is what you like to see. Nobody is quitting, fighting for every try, not giving up. That's what makes this a championship game.
Looks to be penalty or a try?
Oh, it looked like she'd blown the try. I could be mistaken here.
Hey, Jordan, give it up. What's going on?
Looks like there's confusion on the field, too. Yep, there we go. It was a try.
David.
I promise sometimes I know how this game is played.
Come here. Come here. Where's he at? Please come here. Where's he at? Who's coming on? Everybody. Bring him to me. Bring him to me. Bring him to me. Jordan, come here. You see that shit, Tony?
Quins looking for this conversion. Less than 10 minutes in the game. Quins have about 4 players looking to get into the game. Wind, of course, proving stronger than the tee in this situation. This is always a pain for kickers. At some point, you just say, forget it, get somebody out there to hold it. And the kick is wide. Still, Quins doing well, bringing the score to 15-48. Quins sending a lot of fresh faces in there. We're hoping they can reinvigorate this Quins side that definitely feels like it's defeated, but is fighting very hard regardless.
I think this is an excellent opportunity for anybody on the Quins who has played very little this season to try and prove something, and maybe even, at least you can say you scored a try in a finals game.
Yeah, absolutely, and great work by the Quins players that are coming off. Every single one of these guys fought so hard. What we saw out of them yesterday was just absolutely unbelievable. They are directly responsible for dethroning the Westlake side. They came in, they played smash mouth rugby, and they demolished that Westlake side. Absolutely brilliant performance throughout this tournament, throughout the season, really. Spoken a few times, there's absolutely nothing to be ashamed of by this Quins side. Such strong players. Such strong performance. It's Woodlands taking a couple of their stars off. Ian Martinez, of course, with a monstrous performance. He has been a thorn in the Quins side throughout.
Woodlands 48, Quins 15 as we get closer to full time.
Now, Nick, Quins going home. What do you learn from this game? This has obviously been a very rough game for them, especially coming off such a high that they must have had yesterday.
You know, not just games. Something I've learned throughout this entire series is it's really important to go into games, you know, giving it your all and not expecting an outcome in your favor, because you know it could flip at any moment. You know, this is rugby and things happen. That's my biggest take on this. Also, get steep on your back line.
Yeah, case in point here. All right, so these fresh faces for the Quins coming in and doing well to make an impression right off the bat. Nobody wanting to leave anything on the field. Ooh, got to be careful with that loose ball. Especially when you have Sippy tiptoeing around there. Sippy tippy-toeing. Woodlands also bringing in a couple fresh faces. Of course, bringing in actual high schoolers instead of the 40-year-old men that have been playing the game so far. All right, Quins recover out of the scrum, and a good grubber here. Will the Wings get there?
Well, let's make a few changes to their roster. You got number 22, Langdon Smith, coming in. Recently spoke word with him at during high performance that he's coming off an ACL injury, and will be attending A&M next year.
Which is a great rugby school to be walking onto. Here comes Sippy. I haven't heard a lot from him this game. With a good offload.
I'm sorry, was that a prop that can pass?
I believe
think
so.
it was.
Right off the Stein here.
What a great assist by Sippy.
Both danger men we've talked about coming into the game. It's good to see they got a chance to shine. Of course, Stein's been a workhorse throughout the game. It's been him and Wander going head-to-head throughout.
Actually, a whistle before the break by Sippy. Looks to be a scrum to the Quins.
And that's a shame. That was a heck of a run.
Pressure, guys! Finish it! Come on, guys! Keep the hammer down! Finish! Keep the foot down, Woodlands!
And scrummaging even out a bit. Good ball work by Wander, but just bobbled afterwards. Wander, again, one of the players that we expect to hear from in the near future and on. Just been such a strong performer throughout. so many of these players coming through that have been products of Texas youth rugby system and the emerging high school scene. It's incredible, really, that at the high school level we've seen the type of play that we've seen here just 10 years ago. It was a very different landscape if you had a high school team at all. And Woodlands put a quick boot to it, punishing the light tower.
And we have full time here.
That will be full-time. Woodlands coming up 48 to the Quins 15. That will make Woodlands the new champion, which is something we have not seen. This is a changing of the guard in Texas high school rugby. Huge congratulations to Woodlands for the performance they put on today. Some amazing individual plays. Every single one of those players out there getting involved, moving the ball, quick passes, just champagne rugby all around. Again, credit to the Quins. Quins are responsible for dethroning that Westlake side, for really taking the wind out of their sails. I think they just put on so much effort yesterday that they wore themselves out and they just couldn't get that steam behind them today.
I think the second place spot is very much well deserved for this hard-fighting Quins team. They took down a former champion running almost 5 years, and the Woodlands did an excellent job having an undefeated season and a championship now.
Yeah, and as much as the Quins feel like this is a loss, I mean, they are coming in second overall. That is still a highly, highly, highly commendable performance. They had a great showing at the tournament. They've had an amazing season, and we will see them back here next year. Well, that about wraps everything up here in Austin, Texas at the Huns Field. Thank you very much for joining us, folks. On behalf of FloRugby, thank you for tuning in. It's been an absolute pleasure to cast all of these games. I've been Kevin McKitterick, joined by Griffin and
Nick Marsico.
And Nick Marsico, who we wish both of you the best of luck in your futures here. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for all of the insight. And please support these local rugby teams. I know a lot of friends and family are listening. These guys need you, and these guys have been performing because of you. Thank you for being around. Thank you for FloRugby for bringing this to us, and thank you for Texas Rugby for having this tournament. We will see you next year, folks.